Silent understanding. The quantum analyzer hummed beneath Dr. Sarah Chen's fingertips as she adjusted the calibration settings. Something's not quite right, she muttered to herself while the holographic display flickered with data streams. The frequency patterns don't match any known cosmic radiation. The research station's curved observation window revealed the swirling purple nebula outside its mist-like tendrils, reaching toward them like curious fingers. Sarah had spent 3 years on station horizon, yet the view still took her breath away. A soft chime announced someone entering the lab. Sarah didn't look up. "Cooper, if you're here about the quarterly report, I told you it'll be ready tomorrow." "I am not Cooper," came a voice, like wind through crystal chimes. Sarah turned to find herself facing the station's newest arrival. Arya stood tall in the doorway, her purple skin luminescent under the lab lights with patterns that seemed to shift like liquid galaxies beneath her surface. Her eyes, larger than human ones, held an iridescence that captured and transformed light. "Ambassador." Sarah straightened her posture. "I wasn't expecting you until the diplomatic briefing." Arya moved into the room with fluid grace that made her seem almost weightless. "Your director suggested I observe your work, Dr. Chen. Your research on dimensional frequencies aligns with knowledge my people have gathered for generations." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Really? The Stellari have studied quantum dimension theory?" "We do not call it that." Arya approached the analyzer, her long fingers hovering above the display. "But yes, we understand the spaces between realities. My people feel these vibrations without instruments." "Feel them?" Sarah couldn't hide her skepticism. Arya's lips curved slightly. "May I demonstrate?" Sarah hesitated, then nodded. Arya moved beside her, their shoulders almost touching. The alien scent reminded Sarah of thunderstorms and something unfamiliar yet pleasant. "Close, your eyes," Arya whispered. Sarah complied, though her scientific mind screamed protests. Then she felt it. A gentle pressure against her consciousness, like waves lapping at shores of her thoughts. "That's impossible," Sarah gasped, opening her eyes, to find Arya watching her intently. "Not impossible, just unfamiliar to humans." Arya touched the analyzer, adjusting settings Sarah hadn't even considered. "Your equipment detects what my people naturally sense. There are messages in these frequencies." Sarah stared at the new data patterns forming. "Messages? From whom?" "That is what we must discover together," Arya replied, her voice carrying an emotion Sarah couldn't name. Over the next weeks, Sarah found herself spending more time with Arya than anyone else on station. Their research progressed rapidly, Arya's intuitive understanding complementing Sarah's methodical approach. Each day, the signals from the nebula grew stronger, more structured. "There's definitely a pattern here," Sarah said one evening, as they worked late in the lab, "but the translation matrix can't process it." Arya stood behind Sarah, watching the screen, her proximity sending strange warmth through Sarah's body. "Your technology seeks to translate words, but these are not words. They are feelings, intentions, memories." Sarah turned in her chair, looking up at Arya. "How can we possibly interpret that?" Arya hesitated, then extended her hand palm up. "I could show you if you permit it." Something in Sarah's chest tightened. "Another demonstration?" "Deeper." Arya's voice softened. "A temporary connection, a sharing of perception." Sarah knew she should consult Director Isaacs first. Protocol demanded documenting any alien-human interaction, particularly psychic ones. But curiosity, show me. Arya's fingers brushed Sarah's temple. The world dissolved into streams of color and sensation. Sarah gasped as her mind expanded, feeling the nebula's pulses directly. The signals weren't random. They were alive, conscious, reaching. When Arya withdrew her touch, Sarah felt strangely bereft. That was... Words failed her. "The beginning." Arya finished, her eyes holding Sarah's. "The nebula is trying to communicate with us specifically." "Why us?" Arya's expression grew serious. Because something is coming, Dr. Chen. Something that will change both our worlds, and we are meant to face it together. Outside the station's windows, the nebula pulsed brighter, casting violet shadows across their faces. Neither woman spoke, but something unspoken passed between them, a connection neither had anticipated but neither could deny. Boundaries crossed. The emergency alarms blared through station horizon, bathing everything in pulsing red light. Warning system failure in sectors 4 through 7, evacuate immediately, the automated voice announced as Sarah grabbed her research tablet. What's happening? She called to the technician rushing past her. Coolant leak in the primary core. He shouted without slowing. The whole station's going into emergency lockdown in 3 minutes. Get to the escape pods. Sarah turned back, toward the lab, her heart pounding. Arya, she whispered, then broke into a run. The observation dome was eerily quiet compared to the chaos in the corridors. Arya stood before the massive viewport, her silhouette outlined against the nebula's glow, her hands pressed against the transparent aluminum. We need to evacuate. Sarah gasped, catching her breath. The station's systems are failing. Arya didn't turn. It's beginning. The dimensional barrier is thinning. That's what's affecting your technology. Loud clang echoed through the dome as the emergency bulkhead sealed behind them. Sarah spun around. No! She rushed to the door panel, finding it dark, unresponsive. We're locked in. Perhaps that's fortunate, Arya said, still facing the nebula. Fortunate? We're trapped with no way to contact the evacuation team. Sarah fought to keep panic from her voice. The life support in isolated sections only lasts 12 hours. Arya finally turned, her expression serene despite the crisis. 12 hours may be enough, Sarah. It was the first time Arya had used her first name. Something in her tone made Sarah pause. Enough for what? For me to show you what we must do. Arya approached slowly, the patterns beneath her purple skin pulsing more rapidly than usual. The signals we've been studying, they're from my homeworld, but not in the way you think. Sarah stared. What aren't you telling me? Arya's large eyes reflected the emergency lights. I was sent here with dual purpose. As diplomat, yes, but also as seeker. I was chosen because of my particular abilities to find someone who could help us. The station shuddered around them, the lights flickering. Sarah steadied herself against a console. Help with what? My people are dying, Sarah. Our world exists partially in another dimension. The barrier between has been stable for millennia, but now it's collapsing. Arya's voice trembled. The nebula is a manifestation of this collapse. That's why the signals are getting stronger, Sarah realized. But why keep this secret? Earth would have helped. Would they? Arya asked. Your military commander Cooper has already suggested weaponizing the dimensional energy we've detected. He sees opportunity where I see extinction. Sarah couldn't argue. Kai had indeed been pushing for practical applications of their research. There's more. Arya continued, her voice dropping lower. My people form connections mind to mind, heart to heart. It's how we share knowledge, emotions. Even memories are strongest. Scientists believe such a connection with another species could stabilize the barrier. And you were sent to form this connection, Sarah said slowly, understanding dawning with me. Arya stepped closer. I was sent to find someone compatible. I didn't expect to find you so quickly or to feel. She paused, struggling with human language. Such resonance. The air between them seemed to thicken with unspoken words. Sarah's scientific mind raced, analyzing implications while something deeper, more primal, responded to Arya's presence. What would this connection involve? Sarah asked, her voice steadier than she felt. First, we share thoughts, then memories, eventually emotions. Arya explained. My people call it soul weaving. The process is gradual, intimate, it cannot be forced. And you believe this could save your world? I believe it's worth attempting. Arya's fingers brushed Sarah's wrist, sending tingles up her arm. But I would never ask without true consent. Sarah closed her eyes, remembering the brief mental touch they'd shared before. The wonder of it. the sense of expansion beyond her physical self. Another tremor shook the station stronger. This time, decisions made under duress were rarely wise. Yet Sarah felt clarity rather than pressure. "Show me," she whispered, opening her eyes. "Start the connection." Arya's expression softened with what looked remarkably like human relief. She raised her hands, gently framing Sarah's face. "Close your eyes. Breathe with me." Sarah obeyed, feeling Arya's consciousness brush against hers like waves on a shore, gentle, persistent. At first, Sarah could only sense impressions, colors, emotions, fragments of thought. Then gradually, the boundaries between them began to blur. "Oh." Sarah gasped as memories not her own flickered. Through her mind, a crystalline city suspended between dimensions. Children with purple skin playing in gardens that shifted and transformed with their thoughts. Elders gathering in circular chambers, their minds linked in communion. "This is your home," Sarah whispered, her eyes still closed. "Yes." Arya's voice came both aloud and within Sarah's mind. "And this is yours." Suddenly, Arya was experiencing Sarah's memories. Her childhood in Seattle, the rain against windows, her first telescope. The loneliness of being different, smarter than her peers, her parents' divorce the day she decided to leave Earth. "Your world has such beauty, such pain." Arya's mental voice caressed Sarah's thoughts. The connection deepened, memories flowing both ways. When they finally separated, Sarah felt tears on her cheeks, though she couldn't remember crying. Arya's purple skin glowed with heightened intensity. That was just the beginning. Arya whispered, their faces inches apart. Sarah realized her hands had somehow found Arya's waist, her fingers resting on the smooth fabric covering the alien's form. "And if we continue?" The boundary between us would fade further. Arya's breath mingled with Sarah's. "It would change us both, irrevocably." The stations. Emergency lights cast shadows across Arya's features, making her seem both otherworldly and achingly familiar. Sarah knew she should maintain professional distance, scientific objectivity. But the connection they'd shared had awakened something she'd kept dormant for years. "I need time to process this," Sarah said, though she didn't move away. Arya nodded. "Time is something neither of us may have in abundance." As if emphasizing her point, the station rocked with another impact, alarms blaring with renewed urgency. Outside the dome's viewport, the nebula pulsed with increasing brightness, streams of energy reaching toward the station like searching fingers. Their eyes met in silent understanding. This was just the beginning of something neither of them fully understood, something that transcended species boundaries, protocols, and perhaps even dimensions. Dimensional divide. The rescue team found them 16 hours later, huddled together beside the observatory's auxiliary power unit. Sarah's scientific equipment jury-rigged to maintain minimal life support. Director Isaacs immediately ordered medical evaluation while security personnel escorted Arya to the diplomatic quarters. "You should have evacuated with the others, Sarah," Isaacs chided as they walked toward medical, "not stayed behind with the alien ambassador." "Her name is Arya," Sarah corrected, keeping her voice neutral. "And we were locked in when the bulkhead sealed. We're lucky to be alive." Isaacs gave her a sidelong glance. "Cooper mentioned you've been spending excessive time with the Stellari delegate, well beyond research parameters." "Kai needs to mind his own business," Sarah muttered, then caught herself. "Ambassador Arya has unique insights into the quantum phenomena we're studying. The connection between the nebula and dimensional physics is unprecedented." Speaking of unprecedented, Isaac stopped walking. "We've received an emergency transmission from Earth Command. They're sending a diplomatic oversight team arriving tomorrow." Sarah felt a chill. "Why?" "Our situation is under control, is it?" Isaacs gestured to a nearby viewport, where the nebula now dominated the view, its purple tendrils visibly closer than days before. "The anomaly has expanded 40% in 3 days, Earth is concerned." "Concerned or interested?" Sarah asked. Both, Isaacs admitted. "Cooper has filed reports suggesting potential defensive applications." Sarah's stomach tightened. "The nebula isn't a weapon, Director, it's a distress signal." "From whom?" Sarah hesitated. I need more time to confirm my theories. Time is something we may not have. Isaac sighed, echoing Arya's words too closely for comfort. Get cleared by medical. I want a full briefing before the Earth delegation arrives. Later that evening, Sarah found herself outside Arya's quarters, her hand hesitating before the door sensor. The connection they'd shared in the dome lingered like phantom touches across her consciousness. She could still feel echoes of Arya's memories intertwined with her own. The door slid open before she knocked. Arya stood framed in the entrance, her purple skin dimmer than usual, fatigue evident in her posture. You sensed me coming. Sarah said, yes. Arya stepped aside, allowing Sarah to enter. The connection we began remains active, though muted by distance. Sarah entered, noting how Arya had transformed. The standard quarters lighting adjusted to a softer spectrum. Strange crystalline objects arranged in patterns across surfaces. The air carried a faint scent like ozone after lightning. Earth is sending representatives, Sarah said without preamble. They'll arrive tomorrow. Cooper has been reporting on our research. He's framed the nebula as a potential weapon. Arya moved to the viewport, her reflection overlaying the nebula beyond. I feared this would happen. Your Commander Cooper visited me. After the rescue, his questions concerned military applications, not scientific understanding. What did you tell him? As little as possible. Arya turned, but he sensed my evasion. I believe that's why your people are coming. They suspect I'm withholding information, are you? Sarah asked gently. Arya's eyes met hers, luminescent in the dim light. Not from you. Not anymore. She approached Sarah with that fluid grace that defied human movement. What I didn't explain fully is why the connection between us matters, my people, the Stellari. We exist partially in another dimension. Our physical forms anchor us to this reality while our consciousness extends beyond. That's how you communicate telepathically, Sarah realized. Yes, but our dual nature has become unstable. The dimensional barrier weakens, our bodies and minds are being pulled apart. Arya's voice wavered. The elders discovered that forming deep connections with beings fully anchored in this dimension, like humans, could stabilize us. You're asking humans to be your anchors, Sarah whispered. I'm asking you. Arya corrected. The compatibility between minds is rare. Sarah. When we connected, I felt it immediately. You did too. Sarah couldn't deny it. The resonance between them had been immediate, profound, beyond scientific explanation. But why keep this from Earth? From the station? Because the process must be voluntary, chosen, from connection, not obligation. Arya explained. If your government knew, they might order compliance, or worse, study us as specimens. A chime from Sarah's communicator interrupted them. Dr. Chen to command center urgently. Isaac's voice came through tense. I have to go, Sarah said. Arya caught her hand, the touch sending ripples of awareness through. Their partial bond. Sarah, they're already here. The Earthship just docked. Sarah hurried to command, finding Isaacs in heated conversation with a tall, imposing man in military dress. The insignia identified him as Admiral Hayes, Earth Security Command. Ah, Dr. Chen. Hayes turned his gaze sharp, assessing. Your research has attracted significant attention. Admiral Sarah nodded professionally. I wasn't expecting Earth representatives until tomorrow. Situations evolve, Doctor. So must our response. Hayes gestured to someone behind him. I believe you know Commander Cooper. Kai stepped forward, his familiar face now cold with ambition. Sarah, he acknowledged. I've briefed Admiral Hayes on our findings regarding the anomaly's energy potential. Potential. Sarah repeated carefully. We're still in early research phases. Any applications would be premature. Hayes smiled without warmth. That's why we've come, Doctor, to accelerate the process. We're reassigning Ambassador Arya to Earth for comprehensive debriefing. Commander Cooper will assume control of the research initiative. You can't just remove an ambassador, Sarah protested. Arya has diplomatic status, a status contingent on transparency. Hayes countered. We have reason to believe the Stellari have withheld critical information about the anomaly. Our intelligence suggests it's not a natural phenomenon, but a technology one potentially threatening Earth security. Sarah kept her expression neutral, despite her racing heart. What, intelligence? Hayes glanced at Cooper, who produced a data tablet. Frequency analysis from Ambassador Area's private communications energy signatures, matching weaponized quantum fields. You've been spying on a diplomatic envoy, Sarah said, her voice hardening. Protecting Earth interests. Cooper corrected. Something you seem to have forgotten, Sarah. The accusation stung, but Sarah maintained composure. Director Isaacs, I request time to prepare a complete scientific assessment before any personnel changes. Isaacs looked uncomfortable, caught between Earth Command and his chief scientist. 24 hours, Dr. Chen. Then the ambassador transfers to Admiral Hayes's custody. Sarah nodded, knowing it was the best she could hope for, as she left the command center. Cooper followed, catching her arm in the corridor. This doesn't have to be adversarial, Sarah, he said, his voice softening to the tone he'd once used when they were lovers. Join my team. We could make extraordinary discoveries, together. Sarah pulled her arm free. You don't even know what you're interfering with, Kai. The nebula isn't a weapon, it's a dimensional rift. All the more reason to study it under proper security. He stepped closer. I've seen how you look at the alien, Sarah. Getting too close, clouding your judgment. Her name is Area. Sarah said, each word precise. And you know nothing about our work. I know enough. Cooper's expression hardened. The transfer happens with or without your cooperation. Be careful, which side you choose. As he walked away, Sarah felt a gentle pressure against her mind. Arya reaching through their connection, offering comfort, sharing determination. They had 24 hours to prevent a disaster. Neither world was prepared to face. The nebula pulsed beyond the station windows, growing brighter every hour, marking the countdown to a collision of worlds that had begun long before any of them understood what was at stake. Conflicted hearts. Sarah's quarters were silent save for the soft hum of the station's systems as she packed essential equipment into a small case. This is either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever done, she whispered to herself when a door chimed softly. Area entered, her purple skin glowing with unusual intensity in the dim light. They're looking for me, she said without preamble. Hayes has ordered security to place me under protective custody. Protective is a generous interpretation. Sarah finished sealing her case. I've accessed the auxiliary lab in Sector 12. It's been offline since the system's failure. They won't think to look there. Arya moved closer, her eyes searching Sarah's face. You're risking everything. Your career, your future on Earth. Some things matter more. Sarah replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The connection we started, I need to understand it fully before I can decide what's right. They made their way through maintenance tunnels, avoiding security patrols. The auxiliary lab was small, cramped with equipment but isolated from station systems. Sarah quickly established a dampening field to mask Area's unique energy signature. We don't have much time, Sarah said, setting up, monitoring equipment. Hayes's ship leaves in 10 hours with or without you aboard. Arya nodded, removing a small crystal from her robes. This contains the complete knowledge of my people regarding dimensional harmonics. It's meant to guide the bonding process. Bonding. Sarah repeated the word, sending unexpected warmth through her body. Is that what we're doing? Arya's eyes met hers. What we've begun is rare, even among my kind. A resonance between dimensional frequencies, a harmony between souls. Very poetic. Sarah smiled slightly. But I need the science too. The two are not separate for my people. Arya approached, placing her hands on either side of Sarah's face. Allow me to show you. The connection bloomed between them stronger than before. Sarah gasped as her consciousness expanded beyond physical limitations. She felt, experienced the dimensional planes overlapping the fragile boundaries between realities. Arya's people existing in the intersection growing unstable. As the barriers weakened, she understood suddenly why the connection mattered. It created an anchor point, a stabilizing force. When Arya withdrew her touch, Sarah felt tears on her cheeks. "Your people are dying." "Yes." Arya's voice was soft. "The dimensional shift is tearing us apart. Without anchors in this reality, we will dissolve into energy patterns, losing all cohesion, all self. And Cooper wants to weaponize that energy." Sarah shook her head. "We can't let that happen." Arya's expression grew serious. "The bonding, if completed, would create a permanent link between us. It would change both of us irrevocably. Your mind would expand beyond human limits. My existence would become anchored to this dimension through you." "Would it hurt?" Sarah asked, then smiled at the simplicity of her question. "Not physically." Arya's fingers traced Sarah's jaw. "But parts of what makes you uniquely human might blur. Other aspects would intensify. The separation between us would never be complete." Again, Sarah thought of Earth, of her career, her life before Station Horizon, all suddenly seeming distant compared to the connection she felt with the being before her. "Teach me," she whispered. "Show me what to do." Arya guided her through Stellari, meditation techniques, their minds touching, merging, flowing together like rivers. Joining hours passed as Sarah felt herself expanding beyond physical limitations, memories, emotions flowing freely between them. Arya's presence a counterpoint to her own consciousness, yet increasingly familiar. Sarah. Arya whispered her name like a prayer as their minds entwined deeper. "There is something I must tell you. The nebula. It's not just a symptom of dimensional collapse, it's a doorway." "A doorway? To what?" Sarah asked, her voice distant as her awareness spread. "To choice, to possibility." Arya's consciousness embraced hers. "My people didn't send me just to save ourselves. We believe the dimensional merging could benefit both our species if properly guided." Sarah saw it then. The potential future, Arya's people sharing knowledge, consciousness expanding beyond physical limitations, humanity evolving through connection rather than technology. A sharp pounding on the lab door shattered their meditation. Dr. Chen Cooper's voice called. "Security sensors detected your presence. We know you're harboring the ambassador. Open the door immediately." Sarah's eyes met Arya's violet gaze. "It's time to choose." Arya whispered, "Transcendence." The nebula filled the shuttle's view screen, its purple tendrils now clearly forming a spiral pattern. Sarah piloted, while Arya worked with the crystalline devices they'd assembled. "Hayes's ship is pursuing," Sarah reported. "They're hailing us." "Ignore them." Arya adjusted the final crystal, its surface humming with energy. "We're almost aligned with the dimensional focal point." Their escape had been narrow. Sarah using her override codes to access an emergency shuttle, Cooper's security team only. Steps behind, she'd made her choice, not just for area or for scientific discovery, but for something deeper, something she'd felt growing between them since their first connection. "The nebula is responding," Arya said, as energy patterns flared around the shuttle. "The dimensional gateway is opening." Sarah watched in awe as space itself seemed to fold before them, colors beyond human perception, bleeding into reality. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Sarah." Cooper's voice broke through the communication. "System, return to the station immediately. That's a direct order. The alien is manipulating you." Sarah glanced at Arya, their eyes meeting in perfect understanding. She opened the channel. "You're wrong, Kai. What's happening here isn't manipulation. It's evolution. A chance for both our species." "She's using you," Cooper insisted. "Whatever you think you feel, it isn't real." Sarah smiled, touching Arya's hand, feeling their partial bond pulse with recognition. "It's the most real thing I've ever experienced." She closed the channel, focusing on the nebula ahead. "How do we proceed?" "The gateway requires a complete bond between us," Arya explained. Our joined consciousness will stabilize the dimensional intersection, creating a permanent bridge. And Hayes? Cooper? Once established, other Stellari can cross through. They'll understand this isn't a weapon, but a gift. Arya's expression softened. But Sarah, the bond means you can never return to Earth. Not as you are now. Sarah thought of home, of the life she'd planned, the career she'd built, all suddenly seeming like distant memories compared to the future opening before them. I made my choice when we left the station. She said, her voice steady. I choose this. I choose you. Their hands intertwined, purple skin against human, the partial bond between them flaring with recognition. Arya leaned forward, her forehead touching Sarah's. Their minds joined completely, boundaries dissolving, consciousness expanding. Sarah gasped, as her perception shattered, reformed, expanded. She saw the universe not as separate objects but as patterns of energy, consciousness flowing between dimensions. She felt Arya not as separate, but as counterpoint to her own being, their essences harmonizing, dancing together. The nebula responded to their joined consciousness. The gateway stabilizing, expanding space folded around them as the shuttle crossed the threshold between dimensions. Behind them, Hayes's ship halted at the boundary, unable to follow. Sarah felt a moment of sadness for what she was leaving behind. Then Arya's consciousness embraced hers, showing her the crystalline cities of the Stellari homeworld waiting to welcome them. This is just the beginning, Arya whispered, both aloud and within their shared mind. As the gateway solidified, creating a permanent bridge between worlds, Sarah felt herself transforming. Not human anymore, not Stellari, but something new. Something that existed in the spaces between definitions. Yes, she replied as the shuttle emerged into a reality of impossible beauty, where thought and matter danced together. Just the beginning. The shuttle settled onto a crystal platform where tall, purple figures waited, their eyes wide with wonder. Sarah stepped out, her hand firmly clasped with Arya's. The air shimmered with possibilities as two worlds began to learn what it meant to exist together. Sarah looked at Arya, seeing not an alien, but her complement, her partner, her love. You called me just a human when we first met, she said softly. Arya's lips curved in a smile. My heart knew better even then. Around them, the dimensions stabilized as their bond anchored reality itself. The journey across stars had been just the first step. The journey between hearts would continue forever.